We're going to start our services with a beautiful song from Karen Drucker. In fact, it's the best prayer you could say all day long, any day at all. It's called Thank You for This Day.
Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, healing, healing day. This healing, healing day. Ooh. Thank you for my friend, Spirit. Thank you for my friend. Thank you for my friend, Spirit. Thank you for my friend. My faith, my past, wonderful friend. My faith, my past, wonderful friend. Ooh. Thank you for my life, Spirit. Thank you for my life. Thank you for my life, Spirit. Thank you for my life. My blessed friend, joyful life. My blessed friend, joyful life. Oh. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my health, Spirit. Thank you for my health. My wonderful friend, wonderful health. My joyful health, wonderful health. Ooh. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. Thank you for this day, Spirit. Thank you for this day. This healing, healing day. This healing, healing day. This healing, healing day. This healing, healing day.
Good morning and welcome. My name is Carol Helms. I'm a practitioner with the Rio Grande Center for Spiritual Living. We are a teaching community. We teach the science of mind so that we can all live better lives and contribute to a world that works for everyone. You are here by divine appointment this morning, and we are so welcoming and glad that you have joined us. This morning, helping in service, we have our tech goddess, Annette Martinez. We have High Watchers, Teresa Greco, Alicia Hanlon, Kathy Mathiasen, and we have emeritus practitioners, Levator Jones and Marge Largoete. Our invocation and benediction today will be offered to us by a practitioner, Marilyn O'Leary. And at this time, we will share the Rio Grande Center for Spiritual Living's vision and mission statement. Join me as you will, as you're comfortable. Our vision, transforming our world with the power of love in action. Our mission, loving all creation through spiritual growth and service, always staying true to our highest self. At this time, I'll invite Marilyn O'Leary in to invoke us. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Oh, what a beautiful morning. And Spirit is here, I know it. I'm grateful today And I'm grateful for the loving spirit that surrounds me in the human beings with whom I come into contact. I'm grateful for all the help I have been given. For every need, there is someone there, and I know it is a person who is expressing spirit. And I know that I can count on my fellow humans to help me to be spirit in this physical realm. And I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that knowing. And I'm also grateful for all the people who are here who make this wonderful service happen. I'm grateful for Annette Martinez on tech, for the people that help with the sound. I'm grateful for the people in our community who are still working behind the scenes to keep our community vibrant, who keep us engaged in giving and of service. I'm grateful for them. And I'm grateful for all of the people that continue to contribute to this center. And I'm grateful for our search committee who is looking with the inspiration of spirit for a permanent minister for us. And I know that that minister is coming for us, is looking for us just as we are looking for that particular minister. And I know that it goes well and easily and lovingly. And I'm grateful for Reverend Karen, our interim minister. I'm grateful for all the practitioners, for the people who are still thinking about our bookstore and what we can provide. And I'm thankful to everyone who works in the office. There are so many people that help us. And if we look around, if there's ever any thought where we question, is spirit here? All we do is look around and here is spirit. So I am thankful. So with that, I say I am grateful for this service. I am grateful for spirit being here. And I join you all I ask you all to join me in this gratitude and say, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Marilyn. Our reading today is from a fellow practitioner, Eugene Holden, from an article in the Science of Mind magazine, The Indivisible Whole. You are the light and the love of God. You are the way, the presence, and the divine, that the divine is made manifest. You are one and of the indivisible whole, which means no matter what the appearances are, all is well. Remember, wholeness means nothing is missing. Being one with the infinite is being one with all of life. The good of life is everywhere present. However, the only way to experience this truth is to recognize the truth as living in, through, and as you. This will take practice. This is abiding in the truth of our being. Once we practice knowing we are whole and complete, we are lifted up to realize that our thoughts, feelings, and words create the life of wholeness, which, by the way, is our natural state of being. Now it's time for an inspirational song from our guest musicians, Lisa Friedland and Becca Bayer.
Pour yourself in me, pour yourself into my heart. joy in me. Pour your joy into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, shine your light in me. Shine your light into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, shine your light in me. Shine your light into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, sing your song in me. Sing your song into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Dance and smile with me. Dance and smile into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit, dance and smile in me. Dance and smile into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit. Pour yourself in me. Pour yourself into my heart. Oh, wonderful Spirit.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Lisa and Becca. Thank you for the trip to the mountaintop this morning. I'm filled. At this time, I'm going to introduce what I will now call our very own interim minister, Karen Lindsley, Reverend Karen Lindsley, and she's going to lead us through rocking the boat this morning. What this chapter really is all about is claiming our personal power, knowing our truth, believing and feeling and embodying the absolute fact that we are part of God, a wave in the ocean, a breath in the air, manifested so that God could experience the physical. Join Reverend Karen now as she talks about being able to successfully rock the boat without falling in the water. Reverend Karen.
Thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. Hello and good morning, everybody, on this absolutely gorgeous, beautiful May the 2nd. Can you believe it's May already? Oh my goodness. So we are reading the book this quarter called You're Redefining Moments by Dennis Merritt Jones. And this week we're in chapter 7. And the title of the chapter is actually Rocking the Boat. And I couldn't think of any better title than Rocking the Boat, because what I want to talk about today does have a tendency to rock our personal boats. if we do this deal, if we jump into what the chapter is suggesting. So as Carol mentioned, this chapter really is all about claiming our personal power. It asks us to explore such questions as, whose life are you living anyway? Is it yours or someone else's? Are your beliefs yours, or were they installed by someone else? Do you do the things you do because you really want to do them, or because you think you should? Do you feel a part of the human race? Do you hide your light behind layers of politeness and shoulds and shame and guilt? And when we explore these kinds of questions, we always get answers. And if we are exploring with an attitude of open-mindedness and willingness, the answers we receive might just rock our own personal boat. Because we might realize that in some areas, we might not be living as large as we could be. We might not living as large as we want to live. When I was reading through this chapter and when I was putting together my talk, I could not help but think of this quote. It is one of my favorite all-time quotes, and I frequently go to it to remind myself of who and what I am, particularly if I'm experiencing a bit of fear. And we all do that. We all do that. Even ministers experience fear. It's a Marianne Williamson quote, and you might already know the quote I'm speaking to, but I'll read it to you anyway. She said, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually," she says, "who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. And it's not just in some of us, it is in all of us. As we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And as we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others." So today I want to talk about the underlying way of being that lies underneath all the rest of the questions presented in this chapter. Manifesting the glory of God within us. I want to talk about rocking our own personal boat so that we can better and larger and more manifest the glory of God that is within us. Living larger than we ever dreamed possible. Feeling more a part of than we ever dreamed possible. Living in integrity with values and beliefs that we installed ourselves. And eliminating the word should from our lives. This kind of living begins in one place only. God. I don't care what you call it, but it begins with God, in God, as God. Everything else, all the different aspects of rocking our boat, are an outpicturing of our connection with God. How deep the connection goes is how successful we are at rocking our boat and not falling in the water. So before I explore that a bit further, I want to go into why we would even want to rock the boat anyway. Why can't we just have a still, calm waters and not rock that boat at all? Here's my experience with that. If I don't rock my boat myself, it's going to get rocked for me, because that's the nature of life. It is God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom. And if we don't claim that kingdom by rocking our own boat, God's going to rock it for us. We're going to get pushed and nudged and squeezed until we do. Change happens. We can either be proactive about it and respond well to it and get the gifts Get that kingdom of good, because that's what all that change is about. It's about receiving the gifts. Or we can be victims of it, fall in the water, react mindlessly to it. I prefer the former. Plus, the deeper connection we have with God, rocking the boat gets easier and easier. It's effortless and it's beneficial. We teach spiritual practices around here. We have classes that teach spiritual practices. We teach meditation. We teach ways to have personal self-awareness. We teach treatment and prayer. We teach all this stuff. They are all aimed at one thing: a deeper connection with God, knowing God and thus ourselves better. And when I say a deeper connection with God, what I'm really speaking to is oneness. Being a part of God, as a wave is a part of the ocean. I love what Ernest Holmes has to say about it. He says, we are individualized centers of God consciousness. We are each an individualized center of God consciousness. That means, at least in my translation of it, that my consciousness is God's consciousness. God's consciousness is mine. And yes, I made a jump there. Maybe you've made that jump. Maybe you haven't. This is the rocking of the boat that I'm speaking to today. If you have not made that jump, that your consciousness is God's consciousness and vice versa, if you haven't totally embraced the concept of oneness, I encourage you to take a look at that today, because that jump allows us to realize total and complete oneness with God, so much so that we never refer to God in the third person as if it were something or someone else, because it feels foreign and strange to do so. Believing and feeling and embodying the absolute fact that I am a part of God, a wave in the ocean. If the ocean is God, I'm a wave. If the very air we breathe is God, then I am a breath. We were manifested so that God could experience the physical. One with God. When we claim this oneness and when we own it, that's when we rock the boat. I will never forget the day that I knew and felt without a doubt that I was so connected with God that we were one. It was one of those epiphany moments, one of those aha moments. I'd been on the boat of life and I was experiencing no small amount of rocking, and I was feeling as if there was nothing I could do about it. All I could do was hang on as best I could. And I somehow came across a copy of Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch, Book 1, Conversations with God, Book 1. And as I was soaking it up, because Walsh was saying things I'd never heard anyone else say before. And I was feeling giddy with joy because at last I had found someone who thought like I did. I felt like I wasn't alone. So I'm reading along and I'm soaking it all up, and I come across this quote. Your thought about yourself is that you are not good enough, not wondrous enough, not sinless enough to be a part of God in partnership with God. You have denied for so long who you are that you have forgotten who you are. Now, I don't know that I ever had a clue of who I really was at that point in my life. But what I did know was that I wasn't enjoying life, and somehow I knew a closer connection to God was the answer. Here's another quote from Neale Donald Walsch. He says, the promise of God is that you are his son, her offspring, its likeness, his equal. And I read that and my boat got rocked a bit more. And this is where a lot of boats get rocked too, because culturally we resist this. As a culture, even if we do not claim the traditional belief of a guy in the sky, a God in the sky, even if we call it the universe, because we don't like that traditional God in the sky thing, we call it the universe instead. But aren't we still believing in a separate God? We talk about it as if it is. We just call it the universe instead. Check out your language when you're speaking of the universe. Just observe it without judgment. Ask yourself, are you still asking the universe for stuff instead of claiming it? Are you still giving the universe credit for the good in your life instead of owning it yourself? Are you still thinking of the universe as a separate entity? These are the kinds of questions that this chapter is calling us to explore today. So yeah, my boat got rocked big time because in that one moment of realizing and knowing and feeling that God and I were one, I simultaneously was blasted with two entirely new truths about myself. These truths had to do with personal empowerment and personal responsibility. Now, up until that time in my life, I did not feel empowered, and I did not feel as if I was responsible for what was going on in my life. I felt that personal responsibility because in my newfound partnership with God, I knew that the words that I spoke and the actions that I took and the thoughts that I habitually had weren't God's, they were mine. And I had to take responsibility for those. In that moment, I knew that God was no longer an entity that did things for me. Instead, God was the energy and the impetus and the principle giving me the power to do what was mine to do. And then I felt that empowerment. Because when we claim our personal responsibility, we get empowered. And I felt that empowerment because I was no longer blaming God for what had happened in my life. I could no longer blame God nor anybody else. And when we stop blaming, we become empowered. From that point on, I became a different person. Yeah, rocked the boat, rocked my world. And I have news for you. When you do personal exploration at this level and you connect with that energy force or that principle called God at this level, things do begin to change. And of course, if things begin to change in our own life, they also change in the lives of the people around us. It rocks their boats too. Because when we claim our power and we claim our responsibility and we stop blaming others for our stuff and all the stuff that goes with that, we begin to set boundaries. We begin to realize that what used to be acceptable in our lives is no longer because we're different people now. We know and we feel our oneness with God. We are no longer subject to the whims of being a people pleaser. When we become empowered and we speak that empowerment, we might get pushback from others because some people don't like the waves created by us rocking our boat. Because the waves spread out and it rocks their boat. So they either move their boat away where the water's smoother, or they join up and ask, well, how can I stay in my boat and enjoy and take advantage of all that rocking? And then you've got an opening for conversation. That's really cool when that happens. Not so cool when they move away, but sometimes it's meant to be. So this oneness thing that I've been speaking of, I encounter this daily in my work as a minister. And in these circles, this teaching called Center for Spiritual Living, we like to talk about oneness. We like to say we embrace it. But yet, I only hear that embracing up to a certain point. I only see it happening up to a certain point. And I'm encouraging you once again to take it a bit further. Ernest Holmes speaks to this a lot. And he speaks to it over and over again. I believed it when Ernest Holmes said, each of us then represents the whole. And whole is capitalized. He's talking about God. I believed it when Ernest Holmes said, the thing then works for us by working through us and as us always. And the thing he's speaking of is God. I believed it when Ernest Holmes said, I am a center in the divine mind, a point of God consciousness. I believed it when Ernest Holmes said, we arrive at the conclusion that God as spirit is conscious life. We are the conscious life. He says, this is the inner meaning of the teaching of the I am. And because I believe all of that, I am. And when we say that, when we say I am, we're leaving off an essential part there. And this is the part that gets a little scary sometimes. We say, I can't say this. Here's what we're really saying when we say I am. We're saying I am God. That's what we're really saying. That's scary. It's scary for me to say it because people are like, she's saying she's God. She can't say that. We fear things like that. We fear things like that because those kinds of things give us that great power that frighten us. Those kinds of things give us that great responsibility that frightens us. But yet there is so much freedom there. There is so much peace there. There is so much awesome stuff there. And so I encourage you to explore this. Try it on for size. Try saying, I am. And then see what happens. See what it feels like inside at your gut level. Not what you're thinking about it, what you're feeling about it. And then take it a step further and say, I am God, and see what that feels like for you. Push up against those walls that you have inside. Push up against what's going on for you and see what happens. The promise of that is living a life that is so rich and so full that even when life happens and the boat gets rocked by outside forces, our inner strength and our inner power keeps us safe. Our inner power keeps us moving. Our inner God keeps us in love with life itself, with all of it. In the book, Dennis Merritt Jones speaks of taking the time to explore our beliefs, changing those beliefs when necessary, and then finding great peace by doing so. So this is my affirmation for you today. Great peace in the belief that you are one with God and that you know it and feel it. And so I pray. Today I need no recognition of God, for I am the place where God shows up. And so I speak my word now for continued and ever deepening belief in and knowingness of my oneness with that power, that energy force, that light, that love. I feel this power because there is no place where God ends and I begin. No place where I end and God begins. We are one. And so I move through life with the power of God at my fingertips. And with this power, I know. And with this knowing, I affirm goodness in my life. I affirm peace in my life. I affirm success in my life. I affirm prosperity in my life. I move out into the world with this peace, and from this place of peace, I have clarity about what is mine to do and what is not mine to do. And I do what is mine to do with efficiency, and I release the rest with gratitude. I continue that gratitude knowing that the law has already taken my words and acted upon them with a resounding yes of affirmation. And so I release and anchor with those wonderful words, and so it is. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Reverend Karen. Absolutely wonderful talk. So empowering. It's now time to share our abundance. There are multiple ways to give, and that's scrolling across the screen now. And we thank you for all that you can share. Let's say we do have an affirmation of abundance. I will say that now and join me as you want. Affirmation of abundance. I am abundant and I give from my abundance. I am prosperous and I give from my prosperity. I am blessed and I give from my blessings. My blessings of spirit are as abundant as the stars, and so I give and receive generously, and so it is. At this time, we will hear some more wonderful music from our guest musicians, Lisa and Becca.
Well, if you want to sing out, sing out. And if you want to be free, be free. 'Cause there's a million things to be. You know that there are. And if you want to live high, live high. And if you want to live low, live low. 'Cause there's a million ways to go. You know that there are. You can do what you want. The opportunity's on. If you find a new way, you can do it today. You can make it all true. You can make it undo. You see, oh, it's easy. Oh, you only need to know. Well, if you want to say yes, say yes. And if you want to say no, say no. 'Cause there's a million ways to go. You know that there are. And if you want to be me, be me. And if you want to be you, be you. 'Cause there's a million things to do. You know that there are. You can do what you want. The opportunity's on. If you find a new way, you can do it today. You can make it all true. You can make it undo. You see, oh, it's easy. Oh, you only need to know. Well, if you want to sing out, sing out. And if you want to be free, be free. 'Cause there's a million things to be. You know that there are, 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 you know that there are. Thank you.
Oh, how absolutely beautiful. And what a great truth in those statements in the songs. Right now, join me, if you would, in blessing the offerings. Knowing and feeling the circulation of the infinite all there is that's surrounding and supplying each of us and all of us. I give thanks for the gift and the givers, knowing that we are part of the ebb and flow of unlimited supply, that each of us and all of us are indeed, through the smallest or the largest gift, we are indeed blessings to the world. And so it is. And at this time, I take great pleasure in welcoming Dr. Norm Dawson, for announcements.
Thank you, Carol. Hey, rocking the boat, Reverend Karen. I've been known for doing that a few times. It was an excellent message this morning. So thank you for joining me in the announcements for upcoming possibilities for the week here. And remember that all of these announcements are in the newsletter and or the website. If you'd like to put something in the newsletter or have your announcement made Sunday, be sure to let the people at announcements@rgcsl.org know that information. Hey, guess what's happening? You know the old saying about one door closes and another one opens? Well, we're going to have a reopening. Guess what? We're all going to come together on June 27th for a grand reopening, which will be a hybrid services also. So that means we're going to be getting, person to person. But the thing that we really need to have here, and it's really important about this opening, is we need to have a lot of volunteers. This is a community organization, and we need to work together as a team. So we need to have people that are there, and we're going to be practicing the COVID protocols, but we need to have a couple of people running the cameras and the soundboard and the streaming services and all that kind of stuff. And the training will be provided for all of this. So this is an exciting time, but we do need to have volunteers come along and get a hold of Annette Martinez, and she will help train and coordinate and all this kind of stuff. But it's important to have the volunteers in place way ahead of June 27th. So now's the time to, like the song says, if you're going to be you, and show up and volunteer. Also on that weekend, hey, we're going to have our very own interim Reverend Karen will be in town to speak that weekend. And she'll be at the center on Friday for meet and greet. So this is going to be quite a weekend. June 27th is a Sunday. So be sure that you mark that in your calendars, write it down, and come down and join us. The Reach Out team and Center for Hope and Healing is going to be doing a workday service project for the Center for Hope and Healing. And this will be a socially distanced outdoor cleanup to be held on Saturday, May 8th at 9 a.m. And that's going to be at 4125 Carlisle Boulevard Northeast. Also, the center or the team will be holding its monthly meeting in person at the center on Tuesday, May 4th at 7 p.m. That's this coming Tuesday, May 4th at 7 p.m. So if you want to be involved with that, come on down. Monday morning meditation is now Monday midday meditation being held at noon via Zoom. So if you'd like to be included in that, contact Gwyneth Welch with your email and she'll send out a reminder. The transition, hey, we're still in the process of finding that permanent new minister, and we're just gathering up all the information and coordinating it with the big facility and wherever the wherever the Center for Spiritual Living Center master people are all gathered to gather all this information locally so we can start to bring in a permanent minister. So that's still in place. The Compassion Ministries team is available, and they have a very powerful prayer team. And this week, they're going to be focusing on highlighting rental assistance and utilities funding by the state of New Mexico. So if you need more information about that, just look at the newsletter. The Bright Ideas program is really eager to hear your bright idea. Like the song says, be you. So your bright ideas. And we're looking for ways to connect. So contact the Center for information on how to get your bright ideas out there. We are having small groups meeting here at the center using the COVID guidelines. So contact Carmela for more information about the groups here. Now, as many of you indicated in the survey, there was a desire for a variety of music for Sunday music. So let's give this a little tune here. My dog has fleas. That's about all I know, and I'm not auditioning, but I'm just letting you know that there's a variety of music that's needed. So contact Karen, Reverend Karen, and she'll coordinate how that can all work. Be sure to attend the Zoom post-service fellowship meeting, which is now closed captioned. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today for Sunday morning announcements.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Norm. You're a blessing to us for certain. And now, speaking of blessings, I'd like to ask Marilyn O'Leary to come back and take us out with the benediction.
Thank you, Carol. Each person here today has been a blessing to us, and we are grateful for that. And each person listening in our congregation, each person in our congregation is a blessing to the world. And so I want to bless them, knowing that as I do, they go out and bless the world. I want to bless each person who is of service in their own particular way and say thank you for that. As even though we are not together physically, we are together in spirit, and we know that we have a part to play in this wonderful, wonderful world that we live in. And we know that we are God. As we are God, we express as God, and we express beautifully. So I bless each person on their way. I bless each person for the next week, knowing that all is well, all prayers are answered, all beings are well until we meet again next Sunday. And so it is.
I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself,